"Don't talk to me. You irritate me." My Millen husband said that and started ignoring me, but ignoring was just the tip of the iceberg. They started using silent violence when they were unhappy with me. However, one day, my chance for revenge arrived. It happened when my Mill tumbled down the stairs and bled profusely. Using this incident, I, with the help of my sister-in-law, successfully sent them both to hell. My name is Susan, and I'm 30 years old. I live with my husband, Tom, who is 2 years older than me, and my Mill. My father-in-law passed away when Tom was little. My Mill raised Tom and his sister Kathy by herself. Perhaps because of this, Tom is a bit of a mama's boy, and my Mill hasn't really cut the cord. I became a stay-at-home wife at Tom's strong insistence. Tom wanted me to help take care of the home with my Mill. However, things didn't go as smoothly as expected. Contrary to Tom's wish that I help my Mill maintain the home, she started dumping all the household chores on me. On top of that, they started treating me as if I didn't exist. My Mill started ignoring me, and gradually my husband followed suit. They both started treating me like I was invisible. Moreover, if I neglected housework even a little, they'd become physically violent. You'd think I could dodge violence from my Mill, but she had a significant size advantage. She's almost 5'7" and looks like she weighs around 175 pounds, while I'm just 5 feet tall and weigh around 99 pounds. Once she grabs my arm, it's easy for her to hit or kick me, and they'd aim for spots like my stomach and back, where it wouldn't show. This behavior spread to my husband, and he too would resort to physical abuse if something displeased him. My Millen husband even said, "Don't talk to us. You irritate us," and I'd get hit. I couldn't confide this to anyone. After becoming a homemaker, my social circle shrank so much that I couldn't even see my old friends. When I asked my husband to let me see my friends, he'd just say, "Shut up," and I'd get hit. So I gave up asking. The only person I could occasionally contact and meet was my sister-in-law, Kathy. Kathy was respected by both my Mill and husband, so when I met her, she'd cover for me by saying, "I invited Susan." Any problem with that, they wouldn't dare argue, and I wouldn't get hit. So I mustered the courage to consult Kathy about being ignored at home. "Kathy, I'm being treated like air at home. What should I do?" By the way, Kathy prefers to be called by her first name rather than sister-in-law. "What? You're being bullied? Why didn't you tell me sooner? I'll give them a piece of my mind." "Really? Thank you. I think Mill dislikes me for some reason. It'd be good to know why." "Okay, leave it to me. I'll talk to them and find out what's going on. Thank you so much." Thus, I thought I could solve this problem by asking Kathy for help. However, "So you tattled to Kathy, huh? The one who said this was my Mill. You told Kathy to ask me why I dislike you. Isn't it obvious? You stole Tom from me," my Mill said, gripping my arm. Then, she hit me more ferociously and silently than ever before. Even my face, which she usually spared, was struck. She said, "Now you can't even go see Kathy, can you? Try meddling again. I'll make you suffer even more." She continued to beat me silently. That night, as I discreetly tried to ice my bruises, my husband came home. "I heard from Mom. You said unnecessary things to my sister, didn't you?" Saying this, he landed a heavy punch in my stomach. Gasp! I let out a small breath. Then, as I lay there, my husband repeatedly kicked me in the stomach. "Try talking to my sister again about unnecessary things. I'll never forgive you." He continued to kick me until he felt satisfied and then left. The next day, I received a message from Kathy. "Kathy, it's not like your parents-in-law really dislike you. You're just a bit quiet, making it hard to communicate. Could you try to start conversations more?" "I see. Thank you for letting me know. Let's catch up over coffee sometime." That's what Jessica said to me. But my face is currently pale, and there's no way I can go outside right now. I really can't. I was foolish to think that Jessica would somehow help me out. However, an opportunity finally came my way. My husband was on a business trip. My Mill, who usually stays on the first floor, had come upstairs. I wondered, what is she doing here? Then, she began to check the upstairs bathroom that I had cleaned. Lately, she had seemed interested in me, even refraining from any violence, merely ignoring me day by day. Was she planning to be violent now that my husband was away? But the bathroom and the rooms were spotlessly clean. Annoyed, my Mill clicked her tongue and was about to go back downstairs. Rushing to the staircase upon hearing the noise, I found my Mill collapsed at the bottom. As I hurried down the stairs, I saw she was bleeding heavily from her head. We need to call an ambulance," she said, barely able to catch her breath. Though my first thought was to call an ambulance, I paused and decided to ignore her request. Ignoring her plea for an ambulance, I wore a full-face grin. After a while, she started saying, "Call Kathy. Please call Kathy." Great idea. I decided to call Kathy. By the way, my face is still in terrible shape, covered in bruises. Kathy answered after a few rings. "What's up?" "Well, Mill has something to say." "Hold on, I'll let you talk to her." "Okay, sure." I put the phone on speaker and approached my Mill. "Kathy, please call an ambulance." With that, my Mill lost consciousness. "Wait, what's going on?" "An ambulance." I heard Kathy panicking on the other end. I took the phone to explain the situation. "Mill fell down the stairs from the second floor and is bleeding from her head. Should I call an ambulance?" "What are you talking about, Susan? Call an ambulance now." "Got it. Will you also come to the hospital once we know where she's going?" "Of course, I'll be there. Let me know as soon as you find out which hospital." "All right. I'll call the ambulance right away." With that said, my Mill was taken to the hospital a few minutes later. The paramedics acted as if her condition was routine, but they were visibly shocked when they saw my face. My face was still covered in bruises. I then informed Kathy. She arrived at the hospital about 30 minutes after we did. When she saw me, her face also showed shock. "Susan, what happened to your face? And why are you wearing long sleeves in this heat? Could it be?" She grabbed my sleeve and pulled it up, revealing a bruise where my Mill had tightly grabbed my hand. Before I knew it, Kathy was tearing off my clothes, right there in public. "Wait, what is this?" I was covered in bruises. "These bruises are from my Mill. And this big one here is from my husband, Tom. By the way, the bruises on my face are also from Mill. Go see a doctor right now, Susan. Get a medical report. This isn't a matter to be taken lightly." I followed Kathy's advice and visited the surgical department, where I received an official diagnosis for injuries resulting from domestic abuse. I returned to the emergency department where Kathy and Mill were. Here, I got the report. Let's see. "Okay, good. I'm so sorry, Susan. I didn't know you were suffering like this. Were you really being ignored?" I nodded affirmatively. "So you got hurt even more because I advised you not to ignore her?" I nodded again. "I'm so sorry. I was too naive. Maybe it would have been better if she hadn't been saved." I realized that if Mill had not been saved, I might have been legally responsible, so it was imperative that she recover. At that moment, the nurse came in and said my mother-in-law had woken up. Kathy took a deep breath and said, "Time for payback, Mom," hiding me behind her back. Kathy approached my Mill. It seemed like my Mill was pretty alert. "Kathy, you helped me, didn't you?" "Thank you." My daughter-in-law stood there smiling, doing nothing even though I was hurt. "Can you believe it? She started complaining about me as soon as she woke up." Kathy initially seemed to go along with it. Right when she called me, she was like, "What should I do?" I honestly never thought Susan was that kind of person. See, that's what I'm saying. She's that kind of daughter-in-law. Unaware I was listening, my Mill continued to complain. When she paused, Kathy finally cut in. "Hey, Mom. Sorry to ask while you're still hurting, But can you look at this? What Kathy showed her was a medical report I just gotten. A medical report. My Mill looked at it skeptically. Then the blood drained from her face. Is this what I think it is? Yo, you know what you did, right? It's awful to inflict such injuries, even if it's on a detested daughter-in-law. This is Susan's medical report. When did this happen? It happened right after you were brought in here. I got examined in surgery and got this report. Ever thought what would happen if I took this to the police? You're a smart woman. You can figure it out. Whoa, wait, the police. That's an overreaction. I just hit her a little. Really, it's over the top. My Mill laughed off the seriousness. That's when I stepped in. What's over the top about this? She has got a huge bruise on her face, and her body is covered in them. Honestly, your injuries seem minor compared to this. My Mill got even more flustered. Wait, these injuries aren't just my doing. Tom ignored her too and was violent towards Susan. He's equally guilty. Seems like Kathy reached her boiling point. I know that. All right. I've been trying to call Tom, but he's not answering. Maybe he's not really on a business trip, but cheating. If that's the case, I won't forgive him. Come to think of it, my husband had been coming home late recently. Tom has always been like that. Once he gets bored of a woman, he moves on to the next. I thought he'd settled down after getting married, but a man like that can't be trusted. I learned about my husband's unexpected past. If Kathy says so, then my husband might be cheating. I'm going to the police with this medical report and Kathy testifying. My mother-in-law and husband will definitely get arrested, right? Then they'll both ruin their lives, which I'm perfectly fine with. My Mill screamed at my words. What the hell are you saying? You're a disgrace as a wife if you're trying to ruin us. Haven't we disciplined you enough? So, by discipline, you mean to hit me again? That means you're admitting to the abuse so far, right? We're just disciplining you. It's our job to correct a wife who doesn't meet our standards. It seemed like my Mill just admitted to hitting me. This was the moment I was waiting for. Thank you for confessing. I pulled out my smartphone. The voice memo app was already running. I've recorded our conversation. I'll take this as evidence to the police as well. You're done, Mill. I said my piece and walked out of my Mill's hospital room. Mom and Tom, you're done. Saying that, they followed right behind me. I'm really glad to have a strong ally. I headed straight for the police station after leaving the hospital. I was advised to file a complaint about the domestic violence I faced, so I did as instructed. Kathy finally got in touch with my husband and told him what his mother did and that I filed a complaint. He said he's coming home immediately. I checked, and it turned out he had taken paid leave instead of being on a business trip. It seems like Kathy was right about the cheating. I was thinking about how to expose him when Kathy took the initiative and asked, was your business trip actually a cheating trip? I know, he admitted it. So now I have evidence of his cheating. It seems like I can now get my full revenge on both of them. Aftermath. When my husband arrived at the hospital where my Mill was admitted, he was arrested on the spot by the police, and so my Mill also ended up being questioned in her hospital room about the situation. They denied the abuse, but thanks to the recorded conversation, medical reports, and Rachel's testimony, they were eventually convicted of assault. Both received prison sentences due to the severity of their actions. They are looking at some time behind bars for a while. I filed for divorce from my husband. They'll have to pay me a substantial amount in damages, which they can't afford without going into debt. I've also filed for emotional damages against my mother-in-law. Mill is in the same boat, with no savings and now facing debt. Even after getting out of prison, both of us will have to work solely to pay off our debts. Well, if they had the energy to hurt me that much, they should find working a piece of cake. That said, it's all contingent on them finding a job that'll take him. I'm not holding my breath that these two with criminal backgrounds will find good jobs, but I still hope they'll hustle to pay off their debts. I truly wish they'd experience the harsh realities of the world firsthand. As for me, I received a settlement from my husband's mistress, and all in all, I ended up with over $100,000 in hand. I've mostly recovered from my injuries. I've been staying with Kathy. Kathy continued to apologize until the end for the trouble her family had caused. I was hoping for apologies from my husband and my mill, but in the end, I never received those words from them. Moreover, Kathy also helped me find a job. It was an offer from Kathy to become one of her subordinates. Turns out they were short-staffed because someone had just gone on maternity and parental leave. I accepted it without a second thought. I thought that if I worked under someone like Kathy, I'd surely be able to do a solid job. Since starting the job served as a turning point, I couldn't keep relying on Kathy forever. So I also moved. I've moved and am ready to embrace my newfound freedom and do well in my job. I also hope to repay Kathy's kindness in any way I can.